It was in March 1947. The last viceroy to India, Lord Mountbatten, arrived in Delhi to discuss on the possible transfer of power to India. Upon his arrival, Mountbatten found that a civil war was imminent in the country, and therefore an early transfer of power was absolutely necessary. Thereafter, he held discussions with several groups of Indian leaders and found that an unified India was not at all possible. The leader of the Indian Muslim League, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and the leader of the Indian National Congress, Jawaharlal Nehru, both decided that India be divided into two countries, Pakistan and Hindustan. And Lord Mountbatten also decided that power be handed over to India by August 1947. India got its independence on 15th of August 1947. But thereafter, a terrible situation surfaced. Communal clashes took place between the Hindus and Muslims all over the country. After division of the country, it became impossible to maintain communal harmony among the people. Between August 1947 and March 1948, around 4.5 million Hindus and Sikhs migrated from Pakistan to India. And at the same time, around 6 million Muslims migrated from India to Pakistan. This was one of the most volatile situations in the history of the country. By December 1948, all the British rulers had left the country. So, dear students, in the backdrop of this situation, nation building process started in the country. Now we will look at how it started and what were the challenges on the way. The first problem was integration of princely states. The integration of princely states into the Indian Union needed urgent resolution, which were to be unified under the Indian Union. And for that purpose, the internal boundaries of the country needed to be drawn. Each princely state had to be satisfied, and therefore the interim government led by Jawaharlal Nehru took a firm stance against possible division of India into small regions. Sardar Patel was India's deputy prime minister, and he was also the home minister during this crucial period. And Sardar Patel played a historic role in negotiating with the rulers of princely states. He won them diplomatically, and he was successful in bringing most of them into the Indian Union. So I repeat, there were around 565 princely states which were unified under the Indian Union, and all of them together were later to be known as India. Now let us look at the next slide. Government. Firstly, the people of most of the princely states clearly wanted to become a part of the Indian Union. Secondly, the government was prepared to be flexible in giving autonomy to some of the regions. And the government was very flexible to provide autonomy to many regions. Thirdly, since there was a partition, in the backdrop of the partition, it was very much necessary that the integration and consolidation process were given extreme importance. So we find that by 15 August 1947, almost all the states were unified into the Indian Union. Peaceful negotiations had brought almost all the states into the Indian Union, and the rulers of most of the states signed a document called the Instrument of Accession. With the signing of this document, the princely states agreed to become a part of the Union of India. However, there were four princely states: Junagadh, Hyderabad, Kashmir, and Manipur. And in this case, the process was somewhat difficult. It was more difficult than the rest. For example, in Junagadh, a plebiscite was held to confirm people's desire to join India. So obviously, the situation was such that the government was looking for an Aladdin's lamp, so that India remains integrated and strong for years to come. Therefore, a state reorganization commission was established in the year 1953. In 1953, and it decided how states will be organized, and how many states would be there in the Indian Union, and how every region was to be satisfied. So these were the difficult questions that were to be decided by the State Reorganization Commission. So after 1961, we can see that India had become a, an union of linguistic states. Most of the states were created on the basis of language. So language was given the primary importance in regard of organization of the states in new Indian Union. So it is very evident from the administrative map here, and it is an administrative map of 1961. So you can see for yourself. So at that time, how it looked like. Bombay at the time of independence was a state. It was at that time bilingual, consisting of Gujarati and Marathi speaking people. So after a popular agitation in 1960, both the states Maharashtra and Gujarat were created. And in Punjab also, we could find two linguistic groups, Hindi speaking and Punjabi speaking. Therefore, Punjab got statehood only 10 years later in 1966. And the territories of today's Haryana and Himachal Pradesh were separated from the larger Punjab state. In the case of Northeast, we can see that the state of Meghalaya was carved out of Assam in 1972. Manipur and Tripura also emerged as separate states in the same year. The states of Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh came into being in 1987. Nagaland became a state. It had become a state much earlier in 1963. However, language was the primary basis but not the sole basis of organization of states, because in later years we can find that sub-regions raised demands for separate states on the basis of separate regional culture, regional imbalance, etc. In 2000, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand were created, and these states were not created on the basis of language. And still we can find, today also we can find there are many regions in the country where there are movements demanding separate state and smaller states. Earlier, the demands included Telangana in Andhra Pradesh, Vidarbha in Maharashtra, Harit Pradesh in western region of Uttar Pradesh, and northern region of West Bengal. Last slide of this session. Now, what were the challenges of nation building in independent India? The first and foremost challenge was to shape a nation that was united. India was such a big country that it had a vast continental size, and there was so much of diversity in the country. It was very difficult to shape such a nation, uh, and therefore it was very difficult to keep the nation united. The second challenge was to establish democracy. India already had adopted a democratic constitution, but that was not necessary because you need democratic practices in accordance with the constitution. And a democratic constitution is necessary, but not sufficient for establishing a democracy. You need practices, you need democratic practices in accordance with the constitution. Then only the nation could survive. And the third challenge was to ensure development and well-being of the entire society. And it is clearly evident in the constitution, and you will find that there is a principle of equality, and there are special protections to social classes in various provisions of the constitutions. So these were the main challenges of nation building. These three challenges were the main challenges of nation building. And before the end of the class, I would like to repeat the challenges. The first was what? The vast size of the country and the diversity of the country. Second challenge was to establish democracy, and the third challenge was to ensure development and well-being of the entire society. So with this, we come to the end of this class, and in the next class, we will come with a new chapter. So thank you to all of you. Have a good day.